What's up, guys? It's Jamie Grace and welcome back to the Jamie Grace podcast. This is an awkward question and I'm going to try to answer it in just a few minutes because I got to go pick up my kid from the babysitters, also known as my daughter from my parents' house. So here's the thing. Someone sent me a question on Instagram. My DMs are open because I really try hard to answer your questions about relationships and dating. And I recently asked you guys a question is, what is something that you don't understand about dating and relationships? And one of the responses that I got, which I loved, was how do you practice being married without being in a relationship? And I know where this kind of question comes from. A lot of people desire to be married. They desire to be in a long-term relationship. But oftentimes the world will tell you that the only way that you'll ever be able to do this is if you date a lot, is if you get in a couple of long-term relationships, if you go and live with that person, if you date them for at least all 4 seasons or at least 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I don't know why I just didn't say 2 to 8 years. Is if you spend a lot of time with it, then you'll know how to be married. And here's the thing. I will never tell anybody what their timeline, I'm worried I didn't turn my mic on. Oh, I did. I will never tell anyone what their timeline of a relationship should look like because everyone's is going to be different, and that would be really irresponsible of me to say, oh, you have to date for this many months and this many years and X, Y, Z. That would just be irresponsible. I will say that I don't think this advice is valid for, say, a 9th grader. But with that being said, I give that preface because my story is things moved at a seemingly swift pace. So my husband and I started courting, as we call it, because it was very much old-fashioned and intentions were set from the get-go. We started courting in November of 2017, and by January of 2018 we were engaged, and by April of 2018 we were married, and then that following September, I was about to say, I fell pregnant. Okay. I made that weird. We had a kid that the next summer, the next June. So we dated for like 4 months, and then we were like married for like 5 months before we were pregnant, and then we had a kid. And life is great. But I do understand that because a lot of people told me when I was single, like, oh, you need to date around so that you'll know what it's like to be married. People encouraged us to even we waited to be physically intimate until we were married. And a lot of people were like, well, no, you gotta figure stuff out first, make sure you like it before you marry that person, live together, all this stuff. And so I guess my answer to how do you practice being married would just be my testimonial as someone that's been married for almost 2 years, that has a kid, that didn't even have a boyfriend before I was married to my husband. He was the first person I ever dated. And the thing that I will say to that is that I didn't practice being married. There were a lot of things that I didn't know about marriage, and there are so many things that I still don't know. And even if I'd had 15 boyfriends and 3 husbands before my husband now, there would still be a lot of things that I didn't know, and there would still be a lot of things that I would be learning. And that's part of the adventure. That's a part of the story. That's a part of the journey, is that you don't know everything going into it and you can't figure everything out. One thing that I would highly encourage is finding, if you are single, you're not in a relationship at all, I would encourage you to find a mentor, a parental figure. Maybe it is a parent, maybe it's a pastor, maybe it's a guidance counselor at your school, or a counselor at your school, or a therapist, whatever it might be. I mean, therapy is great. I'm very pro it, but I would recommend someone that's more of a friendship type of relationship, a mentorship friendship, someone that is happily married, that you can talk to about life, and not exclusively marriage, but that you can just talk to about life in general. I mean, some of the things that I had those types of relationships before I was married, and I still have them now. And some of the things that I benefited from were just conversations about finances, and conversations about compromise, conversations about conflict, and love languages, and emotions and feelings, because there are things in your singlehood that will prepare you for marriage. Like, if you've ever been to college and you've had a roommate, or if you had a roommate outside of college, a lot of that will help prepare you for marriage, because having a roommate, I mean, it's very likely that you'll be in the same room as your spouse, you see what I mean? So there are different things in life that will prepare you for marriage. Really learning to be responsible of your finances, learning how to budget, that will help prepare you for marriage. Having younger people in your life that you're investing in, that you're mentoring, that can help prepare you for parenthood, of just understanding that your life is not your own, I mean, one of the hugest things that marriage will teach you is how selfish you are. And so having intentional relationships and friendships that are not romantic before you're married and while you're married will really help you learn to not be selfish and to learn more about sacrifice and be intentional about sacrifice, and really help you grow in that area and really work those muscles of your character. I know a huge question that I got before marriage and that I still get now is the question of physical intimacy, and if that's something that you're waiting on, or if that's something that you're starting to wait on. It's like, well, how will I know if I like it? How will I know how to do it? I mean, you know, I always say make sure that your wedding night is not an episode of Naked and Afraid. I've never seen the show, but it sounds like they're naked and afraid. And I really encourage people to, like, I'm not saying like get on the internet and start Googling stuff, but like go to doctors. They have doctors for that. For women, I don't know about dudes. Guys, go ask another guy, because I don't know. But women, we have people called OBs, OBGYN. Like, call her up, be like, yo, I've got questions. I'm confused. Ask those questions. If you have an older sister that you feel comfortable asking those questions, or you have a married friend that you feel comfortable asking her those questions, then ask those questions. And then also understand that there will be something beautiful and wonderful and fantastic about not knowing those things until you get married. And there will be something, like, if you're marrying your best friend, which I pray that you are, then you guys have awkward moments together, you guys have weird moments together, and so you're going to have those in marriage, and some of those may be around the context of physical intimacy, and it's kind of great because it's you and your best friend going, whoops, or okay, I won't do that again. Like, I'm just being honest with you guys. Like, yeah, you can go out there and try to say, okay, let me go practice marriage, let me go figure it out, let me live with this guy for 5, 10, 15 years, and let me sort through all these things. Or you can say, he's my best friend, he's the love of my life, and we're gonna learn so many things together. And that has been a part of our beautiful story. Have there been challenges along the way? Heck yes. Will there be more challenges? Heck yes. Is everything perfect right now? No way. But we're learning it together. We're very pro premarital counseling. That's a huge thing that's really important. We're very pro having individual mentors. Aaron has a mentor that's an incredible man of God who has an incredible wife and great children, business owner, really cool guy. I have a mentor that is an incredible woman of God. She's married, has kids, is really great. And then we have couples that we go to together. We have counselor friends. Like, we are very pro, like, wisdom. You don't want to get to the point where it's like you guys have a dispute, or not a dispute, you guys have a disagreement and it's like, okay, let's get our mentors on speakerphone and figure this out. You do have to figure things out for yourself, for sure. But community is such a significant part of all of that. And so, yeah, I didn't practice being married before I was married. I didn't practice marriage in the context that I literally was not married. There are so many things that I've learned in their, year and a half of marriage. But I did practice marriage in the context that I practiced really healthy relationships, and I practiced being, not being selfish, and I practiced learning to sacrifice for other people, and I practiced managing my finances, and, learning to budget, and learning to just do all of the things that I would do whether I would get married or not, just being a good human and a good steward of the gifts that God has given me. And I feel so grateful that I married someone that was doing the same thing. We were working on ourselves individually. I wasn't working on myself my whole singlehood thinking, ooh, this is going to make me a good wife. I was working on myself in my singlehood thinking this is going to make me a better person. And ooh, wouldn't it be cool if that also included being a great wife? And so that's kind of what I just did in life. And then my husband was doing the same thing. And then we kind of just met each other along that path at some point. And now it's super cool. And like I said, we've had challenges because every human has challenges and every relationship has challenges. And we will face more challenges. We'll face brand new challenges that couples that have been married for 30, 40 years may never face, or couples that, were in relationships before they got married, they never faced. Life is so complex and confusing, and I can't tell you guys what the future is going to look like. But I know that when you are just really invested in, for me, it's off my foundation in God and who He created me to be. I'm really investing in myself as an individual. And then I'm really waking up every morning going, okay, how can I serve my husband? How can I, serve this family? And my husband's waking up every morning, with the whole foundation in God and then himself. And investing in himself and then thinking, okay, how can I serve my wife? How can I commit to this family? And then we're thinking, okay, how can we serve our kid? How can we commit to her? It's just this, it's a journey that affords you the ability to say, I don't have to have it all figured out every morning when I wake up, but I wake up knowing that I want to love, I want to serve, I want to give. I'm not trying to quote one of my songs, it just happened. When you write songs about how you really feel, then those things come up later when you're talking about how you feel, because it's just who you are. But yeah, so I hope that helps. I'm not saying there's anything wrong if you've had boyfriends before. I wasn't the first person that my husband ever dated. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm not like bashing anybody whose story looks differently than mine. But I do know that there are a lot of women out there whose stories are kind of like mine, and you often get kind of bashed of like, well, you're not going to know anything about relationships if you've never been in one. Well, yeah, there's a lot that I didn't know going into marriage. There's a lot of things that I learned. I learned how selfish I am, and I'm still learning that. Even all the work that I put in, there's still so much stuff that I'm learning. But the best part of all of it is I'm learning it alongside my very best friend. And because of the beauty of grace and his incredible ability to extend it, because it's been extended to him and that's something that he was working on and he's really great at it, you know, we're learning in a really beautiful way. And like I said, all the character stuff that I was working on that I feel like I did a pretty good job at, that's cool to now see like, wow, I did put in work and now I'm seeing the fruit of that work. I don't know what time it is. I'm supposed to pick up the little at 1:30. It is 1:36. Glad my parents are my neighbors because it's a 2-minute walk. So I gotta go, but thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Jamie Grace podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. I really loved getting to make this episode for you guys. Thank you again to everyone on Patreon. I don't know when this episode is going up. So this episode is going to go up on, I believe, October 20th or October 27th. Yeah. Ooh, so that means that in a few days, I should be posting a brand new song on my Patreon for everybody to vote on. So every month on Patreon, I post brand new songs before they're out to the public that you guys can vote on. Tell me what you think about it, what you want it to be called, who should be featured on it if we're doing a feature on that song, because I don't have a record label and I love being an independent artist, and I love that you guys get to serve as the record label and not only make the music happen, but help me make the really big decisions about that very music. So thank you so much for joining me at Patreon. If you're already a member, patreon.com/JamieGrace. Also, if you're listening to this on my podcast, you're listening to this on October 19th. So you're listening to this early. So you're like, what is she talking about the 27th? Yeah. So thank you to everyone on my podcast that listens early. You can find this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere podcasts can be heard. Okay. Yeah. Love you guys. Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Sorry. I gotta pee. That's not your business. I'm sorry. Okay. I gotta go. So, love you much. I'll see you soon. I miss you already. Okay, bye.